right, here we are. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Living the dream.
Yeah, aren't we all? Hey,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this before we started podcasting, actually, and I think I understand our pattern. Like, I think you and I have about enough time every 2 weeks to put together a podcast. We try to do it every week, and then I think we are able to schedule it every other week. And then usually, like for instance, we did get together 2 weeks ago, and we started talking, and we always talk beforehand about just stuff, life, and stuff like that before we start podcasting. And how long did that conversation last 2 weeks ago? I think it was like an hour
Oh,
and a
an
half.
hour and a half, 2 hours?
And then after we are done
Ran
talking
out of
amongst
time.
ourselves, we had no time nor energy to podcast.
Yeah. It was a good
So,
talk, though.
huh?
It was a good talk.
It was a good talk. So I think that's probably why we end up posting something every 3 weeks or so. Um, I liked what we were just talking about actually before we started recording, which is, um, okay, I don't know how to say it. How we look at money for ourselves versus our children. So, you're talking about having some gifts for your child that you haven't given to him yet.
hmm
Yeah, and how
Uh,
we go ahead.
so they're Lego sets,
Right.
um, and they're like bigger Lego sets. And I was explaining that we're waiting for a reason to give him something because we've already purchased it and we're just waiting to give it to him, but we give him so much other stuff all
Right.
the time that we don't ever have a window to give him a big thing because we're too busy constantly giving him little things.
Right. So to provide some context, Rob's son is early elementary and my son is early high school. So I don't know. That's a little less than 10 years apart. But I know exactly what you're going through, and I would like to let you know that it doesn't really actually change a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um, and we do this all the time, right? Like we budget our own money, but when it comes to getting stuff for our children, it just, yeah, you can
Take it all.
take it all. I don't need another pair of work shoes. These holes in these work shoes
Yeah.
might, but I'm gonna buy you. Go ahead.
I put glue on the bottom of my work shoes the other day, like my dress wear to work shoes that are beat to hell. I they were cheap when I bought them. They wore out super fast, and I'm just continuously wearing them, even though they're terrible. There's a hole all the way through the bottom that leaks water through when it rains, so I can't wear them when it rains. Um, so the other day, I actually took some shoe glue and sealed them again, both on the inside and outside, so that I could continue to wear this pair of shoes. It's like a $40 pair of shitty dress shoes,
Right.
and in instead of just buying a new pair of shoes because I don't want to spend the money. And but regardless, and it doesn't matter because I do spend money on my child for no reason. Like I'll go to the store to buy myself a pair of shoes and see a pair of shoes and be like, oh, those shoes are inexpensive. I should get those shoes for work. And I'll pick them up and I'll carry them around the store for like 20 minutes, just holding the box of shoes. Hey, I should go check out the toy aisle, right? Just, why not? Maybe I'll see something for my son that I can get for him that will bring him joy. And I go there and I set the shoes down to pick up a box of some toy that he would like, Pokemon most likely, or possibly Legos. And I'll pick it up and I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, he will really like this. I should just get it for him. He's a great child. He ate his breakfast today. He only yelled at me 3 times when I was trying to brush his teeth. I should get this for my son. And I'll take it up to the register and I'll purchase it and I'll have completely forgot that I left the pair of shoes that I had already convinced myself I probably shouldn't spend the money on anyway back in the toy aisle. Inevitably. And the toy cost twice as much as the work shoes, but I don't have an instant of regret about purchasing it for my son who probably didn't need it in the first place.
It clearly didn't ask for it.
No.
Your son is not complaining about a deficiency in the Pokemon world
No.
that is created.
No.
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 My wife and I were talking the other day, and I was talking about getting this or that for Cole. Of course, well, I don't know if it gets more expensive as they grow up.
Yes, that I believe. It can't get less expensive.
No, but like a $20, there's not much. It's just the economics of it. There's not much $20 can buy to entertain a 15-year-old.
Right.
So anyway, I was talking to my wife about getting some. I think we're gonna get like a Arduino kit for Cole. He wants to get into electronics and that kind of stuff, right? And she was talking like, well, I want to. Let's be clear, I want to.
Yeah.
And she was talking about, well, I don't know if we should spend the money for that right now. We bought him a lot of stuff. You know, he gets stuff because he finished his year in high school and all that. Just whatever, right? And then I turned to her and I'm like, you mean kind of like the $250 pair of roller skates that you just bought your 20-year-old daughter who graduated from college? And we looked at each other and just started laughing at ourselves because it just doesn't stop. It never stops. You know, like, and Sloan she's very good with her money. So like all her college friends, because there's not much else to do in the world these days. They're all roller skating now. When the sun goes down, they go into all the U of M parking lots and roller skate. And
Sweet.
yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And so, so she wanted to get a pair of roller. She's really good with her money. She could go out and buy them herself, no problem. You know, she's fine. But nope, my wife went on. And then, by the way, roller skating is, you know how there are all these things that it's impossible to find now because of the coronavirus, and you know, a lot of it's outdoor stuff. It's like if you want to go out and buy a kayak right now, good luck.
Right.
Same thing with roller skates. It's just you can't. It's really hard to find them. So she was like a freaking detective, an internet detective, trying to find rollerblades for Sloan, and she. I think we ended up buying 3 different pairs, and she was able to, until we got the one that would be shipped the fastest, and then canceled the other 2 from like 3. Right. One of them was being. We literally had a roller rink in Detroit that was going to custom build us a set of roller skates for her. They just couldn't get the parts in on time. So it's just kind of funny how it never ends. I remember when Sloan, my daughter, was, I don't know, whenever Hannah Montana went on her big tour and you couldn't get tickets for it anywhere. My wife, so I don't know, what did he say? That was probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. But
I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
At the peak of her Hannah Montana fame before went on this huge tour, and it was impossible to get tickets. It was really hard to get tickets. And so we first got tickets for a show in Detroit. Or in Grand Rapids, and they weren't great tickets. And you know, through like, she had all her friends on Ticketmaster. We got a pair of tickets for Grand Rapids. Great. They weren't great tickets, but she got the tickets. And she was like, "No, that's not good enough. She won't be able to see." So then she started literally becoming a ticket broker. I swear to God, she bought tickets for 3 different shows and kept selling them. And being able to buy her greater tickets. And we ended up, I sold the 4 Hannah Montana tickets to my friend for the Grand Rapids show for like $500. And then some minister in Ohio for the Cleveland show bought another pair of tickets, another set of 4 tickets for like $600. And then we ended up using that money to get like, she got like 3rd row seats in Detroit or something ridiculous like that. And so, yeah, that was, and then, I don't know. My wife apparently has a very good skill for hawking tickets. So
I used to do that to make beer money in Ann Arbor.
Oh yeah, how so?
So we would go down on football Saturday, and we would buy student tickets from the drunk students at the parties who weren't able. They clearly weren't going to make it, and they knew, so they would sell us the tickets for like $5 or $10 because it was just beer money for them anyway.
Right.
And then we would scalp them and we would flip. So we would take them and sell them for more than that, and then buy more tickets and then sell those, and then buy more and then sell those until we made enough money. On like a good weekend, you could make $300.
And then what? Then were you a teenager?
Yeah.
So then would you find another drunk college student to buy you the beer?
Yeah. Yes. Or by that time, sometimes we just use fake IDs or whatever, or buy at the different party stores where we were old enough to get away with it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yep. It's good times.
I remember one year in Ann Arbor, which is still, this story still sticks with me because I think it's one of the funniest stories. So in Ann Arbor, like Michigan Stadium, and then like every college town, obviously there's people make money parking in their yards and whatnot all around the stadium. So one year, about a half mile up from the stadium, there's a little like city park softball field, and two or three entrepreneuring gentlemen went in there and started signaling cars to park into this field, charging them $20 a piece, and filled up this entire baseball field, which is only like not even a half mile from the stadium, and then just booked before the cops ever got there.
That is amazing.
I know. That's one of my favorite stories ever. That's pretty damn smart right there. See?
Yeah. I like it. They're lucky they didn't get popped, though.
No, I know. Right. They take all their money and then put them in jail. So, but hey, at least that was back at a time when we knew we would have a football season.
Yeah, right.
So,
good grief.
Where are you on sports? Do you even watch sports that much?
I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I don't even remember.
Right.
I really follow statistics more than I actually watch games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Sports Center because it's just a disaster.
Yeah, I gave up on. I used to be like, oh, they're fine, even though it kind of sucks. But I've given up on them years ago.
Yep, big fantasy football. Do a lot of that. And then baseball, I follow the Cubs pretty deeply, and then Michigan football.
But you don't? Do you watch that much anymore?
My favorite thing to do is to mow the lawn and then put on a Cubs game and fall asleep on the couch. Like, baseball is the perfect sport to watch when you're taking a nap, because you can sit there and you're 2/3 asleep, and then you hear something, and then you open your eyes and catch the replay, and then you go back to sleep again. And you can keep track of the score by who's yelling, and it's just perfect for that. And baseball is the best sport because there's so many stats and so much to follow through the course of a year that it feels more.
You have to explain that to me because I have other friends like that as well. And I don't understand the appeal of following the statistics or something like that.
So in football, right, you get 18 games, you win or you lose.
Mm-hmm. Straight up. Yep.
And that's it. Yeah. It doesn't matter what happened last week or next week. You just do. The better team wins the game and then they just beat the other team and then they go on to the next game. Sometimes a team that's not better wins, but they were better that day or whatever, any given Sunday and all that. So I like that about football because you can watch it and it happens and the numbers are the real, there's only one day a week to keep track of it. They get one game and that's it. Mm-hmm. Baseball is much more, they generate a larger number of statistics. So the information is way more telling. Okay. Right. So because you're generating so much more and there's so many more ups and downs and things change. And even just week to week, they're playing every day and generating numbers. And so the statistics actually speak more to the quality of the play than in football where you can get lucky, you get a pick six, and then it's
right. So you can actually see some maybe future trends emerging.
Yeah. And you can see improvements and you can, there's just way more depth to the numbers. They mean way more because it's a bigger sample size.
Right. But football, there's something about just the rush of watching the football once a week, right? So now you don't watch pro football or you just don't have a team?
Oh, no. I watch pro football and I have my fantasy football team.
Right.
I also root for the Lions, but
well, you have to be from Michigan to understand that kind of that intensely complicated. Yeah. For me now, going on 45-year relationship with the Detroit Lions. I can't really even explain it.
It's challenging.
It is challenging. But
But
we had
that's why
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, Barry Sanders and Megatron
Yes.
and Galladay now, hopefully, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. All right, that's interesting. 'Cause I always wonder what the appeal to that was, but
Baseball or stats?
just like wanting to dive deep into. I get baseball. I don't. As I've gotten older, I just don't watch that much sports anymore. I don't know honestly why, but I don't find them. I just don't find them that interesting to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can understand that. Though, so the thing about it's way more baseball's way more strategic, and so you have to look at the stats and then figure out what you're going to do. So you can see stuff like that you just don't see in football, like a different batter with a different pitcher, where he's going to hit the ball, how he hits against left-handed pitchers,
right.
where he hits the ball, what his scatter plot looks like for where the ball is going to go when he slide, and then you see the manager make decisions sliding all the outfielders over 3 spots to the right and 2 feet in, because that's most likely where the ball is going to go when he throws this pitch. And then as a batter, you look and see how they're moving the field, and that might tip off the pitch that you're going to get. There's all kind. I mean, it's like a well choreographed dance and a chess all at the same time, and then all of a sudden, like some dude makes a huge diving catch, and you're just like, oh my god, it's mind blowing.
Okay, can you explain to me this? What team just had this big controversy about
the Astros?
Yes,
and their video. Okay,
so explain this to me.
So historically, cheating is sort of.
I get the reference because I do still watch NASCAR with my dad, and it's part of the tradition of trying to cheat a little bit without getting caught.
Right.
And then they get caught and they get fined. But every once in a while in NASCAR, there is such a enormous cheating thing every once in 5 years or something that it causes some actual problems. So I get that.
So the Houston Astros won the World Series.
Yes.
And a lot of the players were concerned because they were hitting better than they should have been, especially at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did they're looking into it, and they were watching some of the highlight tapes, and you can hear a banging right before they hit a home run pretty regularly. So what it turns out was happening was they were using video cameras that were piped into the either the dugouts or the bullpens. So they were videotaping to see what the sign was. So the catcher throws a sign to the pitcher, so he knows what pitch is going to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the catcher tells the pitcher what pitch he should throw, and then the pitcher either waves him off or agrees to throw that pitch. So then the pitcher throws that pitch, and the catcher knows where it's going to be, so he can frame it and catch it.
Right.
Like if he's throwing a fastball, you need to know, right? Because you need that, or a curveball or a slider or whatever, so you know where the ball is going to end up, basically. So forever, if there's a guy on second base, right, they do stuff to try to move so that the guy on second base, because he can also sometimes see the sign, to tip the batter off to what the pitch is going to be. And, that's cheating. But it's the kind of cheating where you kind of expect it to happen, and like there's, it's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what the Astros were doing, where they took it to another level, they set up a high-end video camera so they could see what the signs were that the catcher was throwing. And then so it would beam down into either the dugout or the bullpen. And when the catcher threw a sign for a particular pitch, they would bang on a trash can to tip off the hitter that was the pitch that was coming. They won the World Series doing this.
Right.
Because they were cheating everybody on their team had this whole system worked out where they were just stealing signs and just plowing every pitcher based on that case.
So wasn't this kind of still getting worse for baseball until they had to cancel? I mean, this is an ongoing controversy until we couldn't have the season.
Right. It had been a nightmare for a long time. They suspended a couple of coaches got fired. One who went to Boston, where they think they were doing the same thing, at the next year when they won the championship. And then nothing really happened to the players. There were some fines, I think.
Wasn't MLB trying to downplay it a little bit just because it really will fuck with the
Yeah,
integrity of the
yeah,
game?
exactly. Because it made everybody, it looked really shitty to everyone. And I mean, it's pretty intense. They won the World Series by cheating, using technology to tip off pitches. I mean, that's horrendous. And that's part of the thing about baseball is a little bit of cheating is okay, but when you start doing that kind of stuff, it's like over the top.
Right.
It's the biggest scandal since the
The
Mark McGwire
steroids.
home runs.
Right. And so, did people want to vacate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you think is going to happen? Anything?
No, they won't vacate the championship. They should, but they won't.
Right.
But they'll get an asterisk in the record books and all that.
Right. So, almost like our political system, which we're not going into, but it's just money wins out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's too important to take a hit to your brand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they still took a pretty heavy hit.
Right, but if they had to vacate somebody's like right. Yeah, that's even worse. Well, that's just kind of schmarmy all the way around.
Yeah.
Did everybody on that team know? Like, wasn't Verlander trying to say he didn't know about it or something like that?
I to be honest, I can't tell you exactly what Verlander's thoughts on it were. He was a pitcher, so he wouldn't have been involved in the hitting piece. Mm-hmm. But my guess is that he knew. It'd be really hard not to know.
Right. It seems like it was a whole, everybody was involved. You have to almost have everybody involved, right?
Like all the way up. Like GMs got fired and shit over it. I mean, it's rightly so.
Hey, well, that's a good reason not to watch baseball, I suppose.
Yeah, I like baseball.
Yeah.
And whatever. It's at the end of the day, it's a fun story. I mean, it's not like any of these numbers matter.
No, I know. Listen, I mean, I thought the whole Patriots cheating thing was hilarious.
The whole which?
The New England Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
It was hilarious.
No, it's a little different.
It's not as bad.
Right.
But I did
the same thing again and they got caught. That was dumb.
Yeah.
But, that's a little bit different.
I also don't understand. I don't know. The thing about the Patriots is they didn't need to do any of that.
Right.
They're a far better, they're just far better than every other organization out
but
there.
that's why, because they take every possible.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they take every possible advantage that they can. And that's why they're so good, because they do everything the right way and they also do everything the wrong way.
Yeah. That's kind of how, I don't know how much you know about NASCAR, but that's always how I've kind of felt a little bit about Jimmy Johnson, who won 6 championships.
Yeah.
Is not to disparage his skill, because anybody that can do that at that level is freaking insane. But he had a crew chief who, for years, was brilliant at either pushing the rule limits or just kind of going over the rule limits, setting up the car and not getting caught.
He got popped in a restrictor plate or something, didn't he?
Yeah, they would get caught every once in a while. Stuff like they would do something aerodynamically to the car, and then he'd make sure that he would damage the car so that you could, so that you couldn't tell his. But eventually, I mean, NASCAR caught up to all that stuff, and it's a lot harder, and he hasn't won a race in 2 years. So
he hasn't won a race in 2 years?
No, also no. But that even in NASCAR, I don't know. For a lot of people, the older you get, the harder it is to win. You just like any other sport.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take away. I always thought he was a boring driver, which is why didn't really like him. It doesn't take away from him winning 6 championships, but that played a big role into him winning so many races. Was that his crew chief was insanely smart and knew how to push the system and cheat and not get caught, which is which was traditionally what NASCAR was, right?
Right. I mean, the whole purpose of NASCAR is to try to
cheat
up. Yeah, it's cheating.
Right. But then he won 6 championships, and so NASCAR was like, well, maybe we should
probably tone this down a little bit.
Tone it down a little bit. So.
I played fantasy NASCAR one time.
What's that?
I played fantasy NASCAR one time.
Yeah, we used to do it. I used to do it once. I did it one year with my friends. What would you do?
So it was Eric McLean and Adam Strickland,
Oh yeah.
and Eric's younger brother ran it. And so every week he would call you up in reverse ranking order,
Mm-hmm.
like however you placed the week before. You would get your pick based on that, and you would go through and pick the driver that week.
Uh-huh.
And so then if you win, you get so many points to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up winning. And it was a payout every week, and then there was like an overall thing, right? So if you won the week, you got money on it. I ended up winning money out of it because I was so bad at it that I would get the first pick, and then I would win. And like I think I was I think it was Jimmy Johnson at the time. Maybe. So I would just pick him, and then he would win, and then I would get the money for that week, and then I would pick last, and I'd take whoever was there, and then I'd finish last, and then I'd pick first again the next week. And so half the time I had the first pick.
And you could pick anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to do I think it would be we'd reset halfway through the season, and we'd do that same thing, but you could only pick a driver once. And then you're done with them. And then we would reset at halfway through or something like that. NASCAR and NASCAR was interesting that way because I'm sure you didn't know, but certain teams and certain drivers do good at certain tracks and in certain conditions, and it's really, which I've always thought really interesting. Like these trends continue, even though they'll repave the track. NASCAR breaks out a new type of car a lot, and when they broke out the car of tomorrow, it totally changed this. Change the sport, and yet these trends still continue from year to year. Like somebody else does really well on a track or something like that. So we would do the same thing when we were betting on it, actually, because, but I was more into it, and so I would know who would do well on certain tracks and who wouldn't do well on certain tracks and stuff like that. So now I would never get to the point where I'd look up what kind of tire Goodyear was bringing to the track that week. So that's
Yeah, I didn't get into it that far. I was just, and then I would go watch the races with them, and it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was interesting. I don't think I'd ever do it again.
I'm sure just hanging with those guys was just fun anyhow.
Yeah, right. Fantasy baseball, I tried also, I've done that a couple times, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's just too much to try to keep track of because you have to move players around all the time and keep track of how many games they're playing every week. And it's way too much to follow an entire league that closely for, it's like 15 players on your roster. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah. Fantasy football is fun.
Football is a perfect sport for fantasy.
Yeah. Cause you can just go crazy all day Sunday.
Yeah.
With oh, come on, get a touchdown. Or you're doing fine, and then somebody gets a 90-yard touchdown with 2 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
And you freaking lose.
I almost, I finished first place, last place, first place. And then this year I missed winning my championship by 1 yard. By 0.2 points. No, 0.02 points. I missed my championship.
Did whoever beat you give you some unbelievable shit about that?
No, everybody was just floored because it happened in the last game too. The whole league was all on chat because it kind of broke down that way. It was the last game, and my guy was in running the ball, and he ended up short 1 yard, and I needed that 1 yard for the last 8 minutes of the game. So as he's not getting there, it was just me and him texting back and forth. And we were in the Discord room for the league, and it was just me and him. And then the commissioner popped in. He's like, "Hey, are you guys watching this?" And we're like, "Holy shit, yes!" And then it just kept more people came into the room, "Holy shit!" And everybody just watched it, and it was crazy.
How many people are in the?
I sat Calvin Johnson, or I sat Galladay. If I had played him, I would have won by far. But the other team was better, and that guy should have won. So. It worked out. I just made a dumb mistake. I outthought myself.
That's a good record, though, man. You've won a lot.
Yeah.
What's your secret?
Um, I pay attention. I mean, it's just diligence. Like I watch the waiver wire, pick up players that are doing well. Um, Look for high risk players with good backups. Um, yeah, don't waste draft capital on a quarterback
Why is that?
because you need running backs and receivers early.
All right. Well, maybe if I play again, I'll make you my consultant.
Sweet.
So, but you've been playing with the same guys for years.
Yeah. Yeah. This half of that league I've been playing with since like we started in 2001.
Nice.
And this is a different league with the same guys. I took a break from playing with them for a little while, but it's yeah, a lot of guys I used to play with a long time ago. But yeah, I ran leagues, played leagues. I've been doing fantasy football for a long time.
That's crazy. I wonder what sports is even going to look like this fall.
Who knows?
Are they still? I wonder. Are they going to still do that NBA thing because the way
I don't think they know yet.
because the way the coronavirus is exploding in Florida,
yeah,
and
the players are against it.
The players are
not all of them, but there are enough of them where it's a problem.
Right. I'm sure their attitude is, "Don't make me your show boy, so that you can make a little bit of money and put my life at risk." Right.
Yep.
So.
A lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Rightly so, man. It's
yeah. Was it some college football team had 20 people test positive? Who was that?
Was it Auburn or Bama?
I think it was at Bama. Was it Bama? It was the Southern team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might have been. I read about it and then didn't pay too close of attention. Really, because I just assumed that they deserve it because I hate Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Or Auburn or any other SEC team.
Is Clemson in the SEC? No.
They're ACC.
Sorry. I don't know. Do you like Clemson?
No.
Just because they're not Michigan?
Yeah, I don't like anybody south of the Mason-Dixon line.
All right. I think that's legitimate.
Yep.
They don't play by the rules down there, damn it.
Nah, they just have a recruiting tool called the Sun. Like they don't.
I know.
Like,
right.
It's really easy for them to get good players because they don't have 6 feet of snow.
For years, I never understood why the University of Hawaii wasn't just winning every year in every sport.
I mean, you know why now, right?
Why?
Have you put it together? Because of the time change.
Yeah, I know the travel. I know. But, right. So, that's why all the teams in the South win.
Yeah. Yep.
And they play football in the South, like, in high school twice a year and stuff, too.
Oh,
right?
dude, yeah, they're fanatics about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
The
thing I don't get is why Texas teams are better.
Why they aren't better?
Yeah.
It used to be like you had like Texas and Texas A&M. One of them was always there every year.
Mm-hmm. Texas for a long time.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. But in Texas, high school football is like
religion.
Church.
Yeah. What else is going on, man?
Not much. Not much. Just hanging out, drinking beer. I'm drinking a lot of beer.
Right. So have you been going out much to like get your favorite beers from your new places, or just don't have the time?
Everybody's so careful about how they're loading up on stuff, like getting people back in. There's a brewery out here that I really enjoy that and I'm in their growler club, so I get to go out there and fill up my growler, and they're really cool, but they're also being really safe. So that's really where I'm getting a lot of the beer. Other than that, it's just, what I can pick up here and there at the stores.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting, but it's hard to until everything opens up. Because normally what would happen is I'd go to dinner and I'd try a beer at the restaurant we were at or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we'd even pick where we were going to go to dinner based on their beer selection. But yeah, now it's a little challenging because it's different to go to the store and, I wanted this. It used to be cool to like go somewhere and be like, oh, you have this on draft. I can't wait to try it. Now it's like, I can go to the store and look at 100 cans I want to try and like pick one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was a little different when we were younger.
Yeah. Yep.
What was it? Rolling Rock, man. That's all you needed. I know. What was your 40 of choice when you were a youngin'?
Mickey's.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a lot of questionable nights after drinking a Mickey's 40 ounce.
Or 2.
Or 2. Yeah.
Those good times. What else is going on? I don't know. I've been tuned out to the news, so I'm not up on that.
Yeah, I've totally stopped watching any mainstream news, really.
Yeah. And I have to.
What's that?
I kind of had to.
Why is that?
It's just too much.
Well, they're all, they're all a joke. The way that it's all a joke. So
yeah. Let's see what else is going on. Oh man, that's a lot of Pokemon, and really, I'm just so tired of. I get done everything I need to get done within the day, and then I'm exhausted by the end. Fighting with my pond, so we had some pretty big storms blow in the last couple of days.
Do you have a pond in your yard? Because I have a huge pond project that I've been working on. Go ahead with your story.
So I do have a pond, and it's got a waterfall. So I have a water pump that pumps the water from the pond up the hill and then down the waterfall. So this spring, I rockscaped significantly because we were losing a lot of water. So the pump would pump it up there, and then it would hit the thing, and it's got a liner on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the water would flow, we'd lose some of the water in the waterfall. So I went in and I sealed it up and then rockscaped everything to get it exactly the way I wanted so the water would flow down so we wouldn't lose as much water.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge success. Like we legit stopped losing gallons of water every day. I was only losing 15% of what I was losing before.
Okay.
But it's been a constant hassle. Like the pump keeps getting clogged and the something will adjust and I'll have to go back in and clean it up. But now we have ferns that are growing around the mouth of the waterfall
mm-hmm.
that are 5 feet tall. So I can't get up there to fix the rocks. And these storms that just blew through there was so much rain that it actually knocked some of my rocks down and messed up my waterscape. And all of a sudden I'm back to losing a ton of water up there. So I need to go back in there and fix the rockscape so the water's going where I want it to go again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't lose that much water. But I don't know how, I'm going to have to cut down all the ferns now to get up there to get them down. And I don't really particularly like the ferns there, but they're definitely, they provide an aesthetic. And I can't get up there without messing it up. And if I mess it up, then I got to take it all down.
Mm-hmm. Was this in your yard when you bought the house, or is this something that you decided to?
It was in my yard when we bought the house,
mm-hmm.
but I've done so much work on it. It's sort of like my pet project all summer long.
Right.
That it's completely morphed into a whole new deal.
Mm-hmm.
We tried fishing it a couple years and had some fish going for a little while and then stopped because we tried to keep the fish through the winter and they did okay, but it was really gross because they're koi. So you just put them in a dark tank and let them sit and they essentially hibernate for winter and then you put them back out. But not all of them make it. So it's the ones that do come out looking they're not as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So, it's questionable. And we can't leave them, obviously, because it'll freeze, even though some guy in England that I talked to probably could. I had a really bad algae problem. And that's why we started putting the fish in, because the fish were eating the algae. But I've got that under control now. So that was a year-long wrestle.
Yeah. That's it. Right. That's cool. I mean, I'm sure it was kind of cool to buy the house and then decide to kind of do something different or have it already there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
My backyard, I'm not good with measurements, but it's probably my property is 60 foot wide, maybe, whatever, and 120 feet long, and my house sits in the middle. So I would say my backyard is maybe a 60 by 60 or something like that.
Sure.
And if you're standing on my back porch and look to the right, when we bought the house, my yard and the next door neighbor's yard kind of sloped all down to this little pond that's 3/4 on my yard and 1/4 on their yard. And when it's in the spring, once the snow melts, this pond is probably, um, I mean, it's probably like, 20 square feet or something. I don't know. It's pretty big. It probably goes like 20 feet long and 10 feet wide, something like
Okay.
that. Some years, depending on the amount of rain and and the, but yeah, basically the amount of rain and how warm it is, it evaporates. Usually it goes down to maybe like a 10-foot round pond.
Mhm.
Other years it just stays higher. And in this area, and so the people that bought the house before us, I don't understand any of it honestly, but there's a chain link fence that only goes across 40, like a nice chain link fence that only goes 40 feet across the back of the property. And then they took like one of those, I don't know what you call them, they're like cattle fences, like
Yeah.
you can put in yourself. They don't look bad, but, and then they took that and they cut out a piece of pie where the pond is and put that straight to this chain link fence, right? So imagine there's a piece of pie in my yard, sliced like a piece of pie, that's 60% pond and none of it's fenced in. Okay? It's really weird. They put a fence up to keep their dogs out of going into that pond, but to keep their dogs in the yard. And so since I bought the house, I've wanted to make the fence go all the way across and then come back down the property line, and so that's all fenced in. And I've always wanted to drain the pond, and I finally started doing that this year because it's pretty low. And the other problem is in this pondish area, there's all these trees. I don't know. They're like the trees that grow in water or something like that. I don't know. So imagine year after year, you can't get in there to rake it because the leaves and the twigs just fall in there. And then they're the type of little trees that, as if a small one's growing, there's too much shade above it, they end up dying. So all the little ones are always dying. And so now it's just really mucky and disgusting in there. And so that's what I've been doing this past last week. I started last week. Like I actually put the fence all the way to the end of the property. Oh, and plus our next door neighbors, their fucking dogs keep shitting in my property because they can, because they don't have a fence. And the next door neighbors, they just let their dogs out all the time. They wander to the neighborhood, and so I was just like, and oh, the other thing is, some guy moved in with like 4 kids with the person next door, which they're all very nice, but their kids were playing in my yard and near that pond. I'm like, I don't want to have one of these kids drown in my pond, right?
Right.
And then get sued because so I asked them to keep. So it's like, okay, this is the year that I need to do it, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Am I making sense? Okay. So I actually engineered, I bought like, it's not a sump pump, but it's a sump pump without a float, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a submersible pump. And
Yep.
then I built this plastic contraption and I cut out the bottom of it and made a screen. And so I have this big case with my pump in it that I've just been over the past week. I've had to get into that muck and start draining it out. And then when I got in there, I realized how, like, it's just not healthy. There's so many mosquitoes and shit breeding in there. I'm like, well, I
Yeah.
gotta. So my big plan is to keep that pond drained, but it's been a hell of an effort, as you can imagine. Because you drain it, then you got to barrel out just like barrels of muck.
Muck. Yeah.
And I had to go buy like knee-high boots to be
Yep.
able to get in there. And so, yeah, so that's been the challenge. And I was just, I got all the posts up for the fence, but the fences that come back up the posts that come up the property, like half of them are still in that mucky stuff. And I was going to try to put the fence up anyhow, but no, screw that. I'm going to take a week to try to drain this as much as possible. So,
What's your plan to keep the pond from coming back when it rains?
well, here's what the problem is it's been just never, once I get it drained, as I drain it and the water goes down, I take and start getting rid of all the leaves and twigs. And I'm talking about, there's
Yeah.
probably some spots where it's that thick.
Yeah.
And so if I can get all that crap cleared out of there, and then the problem with pumping it all out is there's so much stuff in there that like I have to constantly go in there. I'm in there every hour when I'm running it, unplugging it so I don't get electrocuted,
Right.
clearing it away, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
dude.
once I get all of it drained and get all the crap out of there, and then in the fall when the leaves and stuff fall, get it out of there, then you can just then I'll make a better structure for that pump, or I'll just once it's clear, it's easy to just pump it in there and let it run overnight.
Is it lined?
Huh?
It's not lined though.
No,
right?
it's a natural hole.
Yeah.
When they built this house, they should have. And then my backyard slopes up just a little bit on the other side, and then there's a fence there, and then behind me it's kind of like a wetland swamp area. Somebody owns it, but it can never be developed, and so I run the hose up the hill and then down towards the wetland, and that's what I'm doing. So it's just no, it's just I don't know why they didn't. They could have leveled the backyard where they built the place and had it aimed down that way. The construction on this house was really cheap and lazy. Like in my backyard, the fill dirt that they used it's got glass. It's just really shitty dirt. Like if you ever dig into it, it's just so it just wasn't really thought out well at the beginning. So it's just a little pond. Well, not little, but it's like a 40 foot long by 10 foot wide. And as the summer goes down, it just slowly evaporates. But usually it only evaporates totally like once every 3 years. So, but this year in June, it's really small. I'm like, well, this is the year I got to clean it out. And then I think once I clean it out, I don't know, but I also wonder if I can install some sort of like a French drain in there or something like that to help it out in future years. But I figure once I get all the shit out of there, then it's easy to pump the water. Because what happens is it's really bad in the spring when the snow melts and you get 2 or 3 storms.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the summer around here, it doesn't rain that much, so it eventually goes away. So if I can attack it in the spring and there's no shit, twigs and leaves and all that kind of stuff to clog up my pump, then it'll be a lot easier to manage.
You will never be able to get that thing cleaned.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
The twigs and stuff, you don't think so?
I mean, you can get a lot of that stuff out, but it's just going to come back on you quickly. So my pond is like 12 by 10.
Okay.
And it's lined.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a terrible time trying to get all the crap out of it all the time.
Right.
It's going to be really hard for you to keep that thing clean, I think.
Well, so here's kind of the plan. So if you look at this little piece of pie that I've been not able to use in my yard, I don't know, maybe it only goes up 30. There's always a huge section back there that I just can't, that never gets wet, that has been inaccessible, right?
Okay.
So that's my main goal, is to try to clear that out, put the fence out. And then if the deepest part is more like a 5-foot circle near my driveway. So if I can kind of just keep it smaller and then have access to the other part of that yard.
That makes sense.
Right. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to totally keep that part of it dry, but I think if I clean it out enough, and then because then I can clean it out enough to gain significant amount of my yard back, and probably not be able to always. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So then, after I bought that, I just found out. I looked yesterday or a couple days ago. I'm like, man, I haven't heard my sub pump running forever, and I know the water level is low now, so I thought maybe that was it. And yeah, it is. But I looked at my sub pump; it's broke, so I got to replace that too.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, I actually can use that other pump that I have right now to drain it out for now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So we use the same kind of pump. Here's the thing. So last year, we were using an old school like metal pump, like a
Right.
3rd horsepower pump
that
pumps water up through a pipe, and the pipe this pipe, and then the pipe would shoot it up at the top, and then it would fall back down. So it's an enclosed system. So our pump actually, while we were out of town, caught fire, the inside of the pump. And I know this because I came home and it wasn't working, and our pond was filled with like oily discharge.
Right.
Because the casing, so the fire was contained inside of the pump. It burned it out and shorted it, and then eventually caught fire until it melted through some plastic piece somewhere. And then the water got into it and put itself out. And I could tell this because I took it out to look at it to see if I could take it apart and fix it, and I could not take it apart and fix it. So so we had to go buy a new one. The problem is that the new ones are all plastic. like no metal at all. So the one that I just bought last year is already like making weird noises, and like I'm sure it's going to die in the next, for sure by next year.
Yeah, I looked at some of those pump palms, and they're cheap as hell. They looked at yeah,
Yeah,
like this is a full on metal submersible pump.
yeah,
So here's
that,
the other thing that I'm actually thinking now that you mention it. Like if I can get that down to more of a manageable size, and I can clear all the crap out of there from the last few years,
mm-hmm.
then I think I can make a little bit of it line, put in a little fountain,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then that'll aerate it so it's
yep.
not so nasty. So that's kind of the long term goal. But I can, but it shouldn't be too hard to eliminate a big chunk of it because
Mm-hmm.
it's deep at the bottom and then it extends out not very a few inches. So I can clear that.
Yeah,
But so that's the
and
goal.
what you can do is set up your pump so that you set it at a certain level, and then if the water gets too high, it pumps the water out. Run a hose so that it
Oh, okay, yeah.
so like it'll fill up to the height you want it to, and then pump everything like that.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm planning on doing because yeah, I don't think you'd ever be able to. Plus, it'll give me the chance in the fall to get back there now because
Yeah,
it's never been part of my yard,
right.
So
You're never going to tame that pond, but you can at least like domesticate it a little bit.
yes. Well, I'm never going to eliminate it, but I am going to
Right.
domesticate it. Yes,
Yeah.
it'll always be part of my life. But I still hold on to a fantasy that it'll be gone. I'll send you a picture so you
Cool.
can see what I mean. So
Sweet.
the joys of home ownership.
Wow, dude. You
Uh,
all
my,
right?
yeah, my cat's over there knocking over a bunch of shit, and it's pissing me
Yeah,
off. But
yeah. It was back there behind you for a little bit.
well, which one?
The black one?
The black one? Yeah, that's the most annoying one. I don't even think the black cat has a name.
No.
No, it doesn't have a name.
That's a weird thing about cats. Dogs always have names. Cats oftentimes are like, "What's your cat's name?" I don't know. Sometimes we call it Mister Kitty. Sometimes we call it Meow Meow. Like,
Well, that one's black cat, pretty much. I think its name is Peanut. Um, it's really annoying. But I mean, we love all our animals. So it'll be here till its time
oh
on
yeah,
Earth is done. But we don't. We love it, but on a surface level, we do not like that cat very much.
yeah.
So
I understand.
yeah, we have 3 cats.
I think we're getting a new cat. We had a cat that my wife loved for years. She had it when I met her. Its name was Salsa Margarita.
I believe I remember salsa margarita stories.
Yeah, it was a great cat. I really love that cat a lot, and I don't like cats. I hated cats until that cat, and then now I like cats because of that
Yeah.
cat. But I think we're ready to get a new cat now. It's been
Mhm.
like 3 years, and so my wife I think is getting a cat. She's getting some kind of fancy cat because I told her to do whatever she wanted, and not realizing that it was going to be super fancy cat. But we're
That's
getting
all,
a fancy cat.
that's all right.
Yeah.
We have the thing I do like about cat, like with dogs, they're like maybe 3 person. You know what you're gonna get by
Yeah.
breed, certainly by breed, and very rarely will they deviate much more than you expect. You get a cat, you have no freaking idea what it's gonna be.
Could be anything.
It could have any type of personality.
Yeah.
Um, we have one cat that we have one cat that is insanely smart. I don't get it. It's so clever. Like, our bedroom in our house, me and my wife, is upstairs. It's the whole upstairs. It's one like a A-frame house, whatever. And that's the one door that we keep closed because we don't like to have the cats up there, and for air conditioning purposes. And so this black cat is the one that gets out all the time, and it has its own our backyard, and like a combination of about 4 houses, and I'm surprised my neighbors haven't complained. Is that cat's territory, right? And there's nothing I can do to keep it inside the house.
Right.
Like every morning, it knows at 7 o'clock in the morning I'm going to be 3/4 asleep. I'm going to let Lucy out the front door to go to the bathroom, our dog, and the cat's going to sneak out every single time. So one day, I swear to God, I let Lucy out, and the black cat ran, or not the black cat. This is a different cat, not the black cat that we don't like. This is the one that's called Potter. Anyway, it snuck out the door, and then I swear to God, I went upstairs a half an hour later, and the door was shut, and I opened it up the door, and that cat was sleeping in our bed like it had been there for 8 hours. I'm like, how did you do that? It somehow went out the front door, Probably when my wife went to go on her swing in the back porch, snuck in, and then another time snuck into our room.
That's free.
Or it has multiple passes in the house that we don't know about.
Could be that too.
So
we asked our kid what he wanted to name the new cat, and without missing a beat, he said sushi edamame.
Nice.
So I think that's what we're going to name the cat.
Because he knew the legacy of the last name?
I guess.
Yeah, I like that. Sushi edamame.
He really likes sushi.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
And edamame. Yep.
That's
smart kid.
That's rare for a 6-year-old.
Yes. Yes, it is. But he's brilliant.
Hey, Rob, we did a whole podcast without talking about politics or getting mad at the world.
I love it. It's great. Now everybody's going to think I'm less funny.
No. All right, my friend.
All right, brother.
Another podcast is in the books. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Sweet.
All right.